controls. So making the water here the same as it is in St. Louis, the same as it is in LA, the same it is in Montreal, that's really difficult. So this is kind of what I go with. Even in Columbus, our water, we get it from the Columbus Water Treatment Facility. They send it out, same tap water y'all have. First thing we do, every drop of water comes in, we filter it. Start it off there. Then we've got to pH balance it. And we've got, even cyclic throughout the year, as winter comes in, the road salts that are out there get back into the water stream, they come back through, and we see that slight change, measured in microsiemens, that slight change in the water balance. So we have to compensate for that, because otherwise it's going to change the flavor of your beer. That's the kind of the level of detail that we try to go to. Rice. Rice is that crisp note for Budweiser. That, it's the beer that gets to say hi as soon as you take a sip. Doesn't linger on the tongue. It's nice and quick. It's fast. And we won't even go to the second one because I kind of cut a little short. You see I'm wearing a Goose Island shirt. I've been really blessed. So I get to represent Anheuser at brewing events. So up in Cleveland, they have a big food and beer event. It's a 3-day event every year. I've been really blessed. I get to go up there with my wife for all 3 days, the last 3 years. So it's a blast. I get to talk to people about beer. I get to walk around because I'm wearing a brewmaster badge. I get to walk around and talk to people, and everybody is offering me samples of their beer. Anheuser does own Goose Island. We own a handful of others. We let them run their beer the way they want to run their beer. And then when things really populate and really become awesome, if any of you have had 312, either the yellow or the green, awesome beer. Well, they could not have provided enough to get beer all the way to Columbus from Chicago. They just couldn't make enough. So we take their brewmaster, send them to one of our big breweries, and modify the process so that now they can propagate that and it can go national. That way you keep that craft beer feel and let everybody try it. Questions, comments, concerns?
How much beer do you brew out of the Columbus Brewery?
About 10 million barrels. Each barrel is 31 gallons, 51 six-packs, 13 3/4 cases. However we look at it. A lot. A lot.
How many employees do you have up there at that plant?
Right now I think we're running around 800. Okay? We also utilize seasonals. We utilize weekenders at different times of the year. Beer is somewhat cyclic, so as the weather changes, amazingly, when it gets cold, people don't drink quite as much beer unless it's football day. All right.
Now, years ago, I think you guys brewed like 2 beers there, which was Budweiser and Michelob.
Right.
So how many beers do you make out of there now?
Right now we're making 32 out-the-door products, up to and including 3 different non-alcoholic products. Unlike some other companies, we actually make a really fine alcoholic beer and then flash evaporate the alcohol off and then put the esters back into the product. And so O'Doul's Amber, Busch non-alcoholic are the 3. We're the only one in the world that makes a full malt beer in a non-alcoholic. Sir?
What's the footprint that this brewery is?
The adjoining 7 states. Okay? Now, some of the products like the non-alcoholic malt beer, O'Doul's Amber, that's nationwide. So, we mix and match, and it's whichever brewery is best at a given thing. And then they look at, transportation costs and things like this. So some of these up here, the raspberries and limeritas and such like that, we don't make those in Columbus. And I'm kind of glad, because that's a painful process. The rest of it, yes, that's.
What do you do with the after product, with the hops and all the things you make beer with? Where does that go?
That goes to local farmers. We actually sell all of our spent grains. We're over 99% recycled, so vapors, grains, everything is all recycled back into the avoiding landfills, everything we can. We do a pretty good job of it. The farmers feed it to their cows, who seem to really like it. They're not getting a buzz. Don't be looking for a buzz on your milk, all right? Yes, sir.
Like from a Pilsner to a lager.
Okay, so let's look at like an ale versus a lager. So that's the type of yeast that's used. Lagers, which most of our products are indeed lagers. American taste buds really like lagers. Lagers, the yeast, once it's consumed all of its energy, it likes to drop to the bottom and work from the bottom up, which makes it better for us. Ales, the yeast is up high. Taste-wise, lagers are going to be sweeter. The ales are going to have more hop note. You're not going to pick up the sweetness of the grains. Isn't going to affect the taste near as much. So most of your IPAs are ales. India Pale Ale, by the way, for anybody. And the whole term India Pale Ale came about because England was shipping beer down to their soldiers and colonists down in India. And what they did is they went, how much does it take adding hops to get it to withstand this long voyage? Because it was a preservative. So that's how the whole IPA came about was, hey, we've got to add enough hops, make it sufficiently bitter that it'll survive the journey without spoilage. Yes? Pilsner is an ale. Sorry.
You're at 800 employees now. Was there a point where you had more employees? Is this the high water mark of employees? Have you grown much or shrunk much?
We've grown in volume. We haven't really grown so much in employees. Thanks to folks like myself. We were able to produce more beer with the same number of people. Automation is a big thing with us. Great thing for me, because otherwise I wouldn't be here. Yes, sir.
Sometimes when I drive by the plant, there's a very distinctive odor
Okay.
in the air. Is that from the stacks, or what is it?
Okay. We have several different aromas. So some is naturally the production of beer. Okay, so we're boiling it. We call it wort. And you create a great big mash, and you're boiling it, and you're going to smell that, and it should smell like a vegetable soup type, right? And then on the back side of our brewery, towards 270, we have BERS, and that's Biogas Energy Recovery System, right? So we actually take our waste product, anything that goes down the drain, we have engineered bugs. They convert it to methane. We compress it, pump it back, shove it right into our boilers, and we burn it. Now that's turning it around and making energy with beer. I like it. Yes, sir.
Most beers now have dates on them. Can you just explain how important it is, that date, what it means if I leave it in my refrigerator longer than that date?
Absolutely, absolutely. We like our products to be consumed within 110 days. Okay. Freshness is key. Now we have things like, they call it oxygen scavenging caps. So the little plastic liner on the inside of the crown actually absorbs any oxygen that happened to get in there. And because oxygen creates spoilage. If you have, and there are beers that are meant to have that flavor, but beach beers, and that Corona being a prime example, it inherently has that slightly skunky flavor to it. Well, we don't want that. So we want it to be consumed reasonably quick. Now there are some beers that actually have a long shelf life. Goose Island makes beers that have a 5-year shelf life. And the way they do that is they don't filter out all the yeast. So in the bottle, it's still slightly fermenting. It's upping its alcohol just a little bit, and it's making more CO2. Well, the CO2 creates a positive pressure in there. There's no chance of getting oxygen. So,
Difference between can and bottle and aging.
I used to really think so. We do competitions every week. We look at the last 5 weeks of our beer. And so we're always the last 5 weeks, and we compare can to bottle, and the latest, if I may, the screw top bottle, right? And I was not a huge fan when we first were rolling it out. We're having all kinds of difficulties, getting the packaging lines to run with this. Wow, it really handles age phenomenally well, right? So,
So you can't tell the difference.
you can. I'm going to say that I can indeed tell a slight difference, but it's not so much what the container is. We did what's called a 4-on-3 test. So you've got 4 rows, got 3 beers in each row. One of those beers was a can. And we had a dozen key tasters, and they went through and they were trying to pick out which one's the can, which one's the bottle. 1 out of 12 people got it. All right, statistically inconsequential, right? So no difference, no discernible difference.
So what's in your fridge at home?
All right, so
That's the last question we're gonna have for the
So I have a wife that says, I don't like the taste of cans touching my lip, all right? And the idea of pouring it into a glass, no. So I have bottles, all right? I'll readily admit that. Yes, sir?
Right, porter beer?
Not at our brewery, no, sir. We do have some, Fort Collins Brewery. It's actually a mix of a different type of yeast, so it's a little bit of both. So it's got some top side yeast and some low end yeast. Very nice, very nice. I sample everybody's beers. Yes, sir.
I was in Boston this last weekend, and the local news was running stories about how beer prices are going up. Is that going to be a national trend?
I don't affect beer prices. I wish I did. I wish I did. But
We have one more question. I'm sorry. Okay, babe, because we gotta.
yes, ma'am.
How has the interest in sales of craft beers affected the sales of the beers like Budweiser?
It has indeed significantly impacted it. 30 years ago, there were 36 breweries in the U.S. Okay, total. Right now, there are 3,800 because of microbreweries. And it's the way the laws change. So they actually favor the small brewer. And that's fine, that's fine. I have no problem with that. I do kind of challenge the idea that craft means small, because I would argue that trying to make a beer like Budweiser or Bud Light exactly the same throughout the world, that's a craft.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.